Hi, this is Kevin Trainer, and I'd like to welcome you to my demo on um, creating an XSL-FO version of the report on the ACES student chapters. Now, we've used this XML content file with a list of the ACES student chapters in it for, most of the course. And we've done a lot of things with it. And the most recent thing that we did is we did an XSLT transformation where we were able to pull the data out of the XML content document and surround it with a bunch of tags from the HTML5 tag set. And we're able to create a nice little HTML page that we subsequently were able to display. Well, what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing, but instead of doing it for the web, we're going to do it for print. And we're going to do it with an XSL-FO print formatting engine. And the particular one that we're going to be using is called XEP, and it's from a company called RenderX. And it has a very good integration with our Oxygen XML editor. And I'm going to say right here, if you haven't already installed XCP on your machine, I'd have you pause here and go to the demo. I did a demo on installing the product. I did one version for Mac, one version for Windows 7. Between those, you ought to be able to get the product installed on your machine and get it properly hooked up with the Oxygen XML editor. Okay, so we'll pause for anybody who hasn't gotten that done. And now we'll unpause and we'll assume that everybody's got that level of installation and integration already done. In that other demo, I talked about what XSL-FO is, and just to rehash a little bit, if you were to try to make an analogy of what it's like, XSL-FO, which is a markup language, is to print what HTML5 is to the web. Okay, so it's a markup language that we use to surround bits of text. In the case of HTML5, we are preparing the text to be displayed by a browser. In the case of XSL-FO, we are preparing the text to be rendered by an XSL-FO print engine like XEP. The only thing that's really different between these two, they have a lot of similarities and quite a few differences, but I would say, apart from a couple of quick examples that we're going to look at, you're rarely going to see a document that was authored in XSL-FO directly. Now, we do see HTML pages that people decide to write a simple website, and they'll have a couple of static HTML pages, and could they use the Oxygen editor to author those? Yeah, they could. Okay, and they could put together a couple of simple pages, and that would make sense. It turns out that XSL-FO is elaborate enough And it's a big enough solution that generally when you're using it, you're not authoring these things by hand. Okay, so they are coming out as the result of an XSLT transformation. Well, that's good for us because we know how to do that. We did an XSLT transformation where we had as the output a web page that listed out the ASIS student chapters, and now we're going to have a printed counterpart of that. So we've got the concept down. Okay? All right. So let's take a look around our virtual machine. First thing I want to do is to create the right project. So I'm going to open up this area here that has all our projects in it. I'm going to pull it out here a little bit so we can see the names of the projects. And we've got an ASIS student chapter demo copy. Here we are. ASIS student chapter demo XSLT data interchange. That's where I want to start. So I want to take that. That's the last version that we had that we did created the HTML page. And I'm going to paste it. And I am not going to emphasize the difference between marking these things up for data interchange and marking these things up for publishing, because I think you already understand the difference in the XSLT styles for those. So we're not going to do both styles. We're just going to do this one with actually a combination of it. And we're going to do a demo, and we're just going to say XSL-FO. And that's going to be the name of it. So let's open that folder, and we have a project, and we'll open it up. And we don't want to install our updates till later. Maybe tonight. It sounds good. And let's look at the documents that we have so far. Okay. Well, the XML content document is called Student ASIS Chapters Partial. So we're going to open up that. And a little bit later on, I'm going to give you some more data for that you'll be able to download. And I keep forgetting in my virtual machine I need to open it because my double click doesn't work. And then we have an XSL, generate ASIS chapter list XSL. And again, I need to open that. Okay, and that's what we did not too long ago in the course. Okay. And what we have is we have a transformation in which we are pulling the data off of the XML document, and we are surrounded with the tags of HTML5. Then we get a proper HTML5 page. So let's do that transformation. Let's say we want to generate ASIS chapter list, apply associated. And what happens, but we get the chapter list. And that looks pretty good. Okay, it might not be the best of typography, but it kind of makes sense. All right, so that's what we've got there. Now the next thing I want to do is I want to start to take a look at, so what we're going to do is we're going to take this generate ASIS chapter list, and we're going to save it under another name. Okay, so we'll do a save as, and we're going to call it generate print version ASIS chapter list. Okay, and that's going to be it, and we're going to make it work the right way. Now we've got a lot of code in here that's not right, okay? So for instance, we say in this XSL output that we want an HTML5 page. Well, we definitely don't want an HTML5 page. So a lot of things have to be changed, but I think that having this idea that we're going to transform it in basically the same way is a good idea. And this isn't the way I practiced it, but this is the way I'd like to practice it with you, okay? So the next thing we want to know is, what is our page going to look like? We pretty much know what an HTML5 document looks like. But the people, our good friends at RenderX, have done a nice job of putting together a tutorial. And let's go to their tutorial site, www.renderx.com. And we're going to go to Products, XCP Engine, XSL Tutorial. And let's just take a look at what they have here. And I'm going to make this a little bigger so you can read it and I can read it too. There we go. And this is the document that we're going to generate. This is an XSL-FO document. And what does this get consumed by? Well, it gets consumed by an XSL-FO print formatting engine. In the same way that an HTML5 document gets consumed by a conforming browser, right? So what are the parts of it? Well, let's look at it. First of all, it is an XML document. So it starts out with an XML declaration. They happen to be using a character set ISO 8859-1, which, as I remember, is the name of the Latin 1 character set. That's not something that I would use unless I had to. UTF-8 is really the default standard, and unless you already have a document that has to be in this format, I would use UTF-8. And then the root element is very conveniently named FO root. Well, that's good. That makes sense. And then the FO root element has a declaration of a namespace that associates the prefix FO with the URI character string for XSL-FO. Now, how does that help? Well, it turns out that the reason that we put these things into namespaces is that the programs that consume them are looking for data that's in that namespace. So in order for the XCP print formatter to recognize this as a proper FO document, these tags have to be in this namespace. Okay? Now, we don't have to use the prefix FO. We could use the prefix hi mom if we wanted to, but that would be rather unconventional. So typically we use the prefix FO, and we always associate it with this URI string. Okay? All right, so that's the root. That just holds the whole document. Now we've got two parts. We've got a layout master set, okay, and then we have a page sequence. How does this work? Well, think of the layout master set like this. we're going to tell the product how we're going to lay out page or pages within our printed document. And we're going to give it all the layout infrastructure that we're going to need right up front in this, as part of this element that's called layout master set. Okay. Now it turns out that we're going to start with something very easy. Okay. So it doesn't have a lot of contents. So what happens in the page sequence? Okay, so the page sequence has a bunch of things in it called flows, and flows hold the content. Okay, so how do we know, how do things correspond between the flows that are in the page sequence and the page masters? Well, there is, on this page sequence, there's a master reference that says, okay, you're going to lay this out into the layout master that I called my page. Well, where did I do that? Well, I did it up here in this layout master set. I created one page master that I called my page. So we're going to do something pretty simple here. And of course, XSL-FO can be very complicated. I mean, if you were watching the video I did on the installation, I showed you a document that was the formatting of the XML standard. And it had lots of different things. It had left pages and right pages. It had headers and footers that were running headers and footers. It had page X of Y. It had a lot of stuff. Okay, well, if you're going to have all that kind of stuff, you're going to have lots of parts. All right, well, we're going to start out small, because what we want to do is we want to get you interested enough in XSL-FO that you go, you know, this might be a technology that I would want to use to solve such and such a problem, at which point you'll take the basic things that we're learning in this unit, the more advanced things that we're learning in the next one, and then you would do some more research on your own and look at examples and be able to do something that would be as sophisticated as some of the examples I showed in the installation demo video. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this really simple page and I'm just going to steal the code. Okay, and I'm going to copy it and close this, and I'm going to go back to the Oxygen XML editor, and I said I want a file, and I want a new, that's Safari, let's try Oxygen file, new, and let's say we want an XSL-FO document. There's an FO document. I'm sure we're going to find one. Tell me I can't find one and I'll go nuts. Global templates. Framework templates. FO. Here's an FO template. Formatting objects with render extensions. Oh, let's take that. That looks like a great way to start. So let's create this. Okay, and we've got a simple page. All right, that looks actually pretty good. Let's actually start with that as our starting point because it looks like it's the Hello World example and everything's all set. So I'm not going to have to get rid of the extra numbers that were in that or anything at all. Okay, so what are the parts again? FO root, it's in the proper namespace. Then we've got layout master set, okay? And then we've got my page, okay? And then within there, we've got page sequence. And within the page sequence, we've got one flow, okay? And how do we know that the flow is going to correspond with this layout up top? Well, because it's called my page, and the layout up top is called my page. And then inside of it, the flow says it needs to go into the part of a page called an XSL region body. And guess what? We have got one for region body. This is right in the middle where our content is going to go. All right, that's good. Now, if you remember from the demo, I did have a way of showing you how to take something like this and turn it into a run it through the FO processor. And so we took this untitled FO, okay, which, let's save the name of this. We're going to save as, okay, let's just call this FO skeleton, because it's the skeleton of an FO document, right? So we're going to take that and let's create a transformation scenario, create a new one. And even though we say we're doing it with XSLT, we're really not yet. Okay, we're putting at the right file. We don't have an XSL, so we don't have to fill it in. We do want to use the big version of the transformation engine. We do want to associate the right FO processor. Okay, we don't want to use the output of a transformation. We do want to just give it the FO document. We want to create a PDF, and we don't want to use poor old Apache FOP. We want to use XCP. And then on the output side, we want to have a file name that we create from the current file name variable. And we want to call that .pdf. Not PDG, but PDF. And we want to open it in the default application. All right, so let's apply associated. And what do we get? We should get a hello world. Okay. Now, you may notice here we're still using the PDF viewer because that's what we're asking for. So I guess it's coming up in Safari and it's being rendered by the Apple PDF viewer. Hello world. Okay, good. So that's good. So we've proved to ourselves that this is an effective layout for an XSL-FO document. Okay? So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to just take this whole layout, okay, and let's just take this, yeah, whole layout. way it is right here. And I'm going to copy it. And I'm going to put it in my style sheet. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new rule, XSL template, match equal slash. Okay. And what I'm going to do is that when I'm done, I'm going to have taken all the code from this top level template, and I'll have stolen it and put it in this one. So what did I do when I was creating an HTML page? Well, I just put in the template of a skeletal page, right? Okay, well, that looks good. That's the skeletal page, right? Looks good to me. So I'm gonna read the XML document, which has on it the ASIS chapter data, which you remember looks like this, right? And I'm going to promptly ignore it, and I'm going to write out hello world. Okay, that sounds good. Now, can I have two templates that match the same thing? Yeah, you can, but it's not good style. What happens is that the last one is the one that gets paid attention to. So we're just going to take that template and we're going to toggle the whole thing into a comment. So the only reason we want it here is to steal code from it later. Okay, so now, poof, you're a comment. Now, if we run this transformation, now let's just take a look at this. Do we want an HTML page? Or do we want all this stuff? Probably not. Okay. Do we want to control the encoding? Yeah, we probably do. So let's say that we want the output is going to be XML. Okay. We don't want version 5. Do we want the encoding to be UTF-8? Yeah. Do we want it indented? Well, the fact is that we're not going to look at the output of this. The output of this is going to go right to it's going to go right to the XCP processor. So why put the extra effort into it? Okay? We're never even going to see it. And do we want to omit the XML declaration? Well, that was appropriate for an HTML5 file, but not for the one that we want. Okay? So let's put that here. All right. And now we've got this XSL-FO stuff. Now, the approach that we have here is going to work well. Well, it's going to work well. Why don't we prove that it's going to work well? Okay? Instead of talking about it, let's do it. So let's do a transformation. Sorry, we need to be aimed at the XML document, just like we were doing before. So we're going to do a transformation, and we're going to have a new transformation. And we're just going to say generate printed ASIS chapters report. Okay? So we've got the current file URL. What's the XSL? What's the one we just were working on? And interestingly, we're in the wrong project right now. So let's go into here. And this is our thing. Okay. And generate print version ACES chapter list right here. That's our XSL. Okay. And you know that I always take off the file path. So I took that off because they're in the same directory. They can find each other. And I want to change the XSLT processor to be the fancy one. And let's go to the FO processor. I want to perform FO processing. I do want the output of the XSLT to be processed. I do want a PDF, but I don't want the Apache FOP processor. I want the fancy XCP processor. Okay. And then on the output side, what would I like? Well, I want to use that current file name variable .pdf, and then I want to open it with the browser or the system application. Okay, so let's apply associated, and what we should get is our hello world thing again. Yeah, we did. So yeah, we did a transformation of the XML document, but we completely ignored the input that was on the XML document, and we got our hello world again. Okay, so now we can start to chop it up and really turn it into what we want it to be and start experiencing how we work with this. And the way I like to do it is just to work our way through the transformation that we did for HTML, and I want to do the equivalent thing in XSLT. XSL-FO. All right, so let me back this up over here. If I want to see this, let me close the project thing. Now we can see all of my text. All right, so let's look at this. Oh, I just want to point out that putting this namespace on this works if you only have one rule, this one here. As soon as you have another rule, as soon as you start to use the rule-based pattern for XSLT style sheets, just putting the namespace for FO here at the top of this piece of code doesn't do the job. So what we can do is we can move this and just put it on top of the style sheet. Okay? So trust me, this works. You take this off of the root and you put it up here right after the other declaration. And if you notice, while I didn't have anything in the namespace, I got into trouble. But as soon as I pasted it back, it liked all of the FO stuff. So now we have the declaration in the very top of the style sheet that says everything that has the prefix FO is in our magical XSL-FO namespace. Okay, so that's good. Now it doesn't like the FO root all of a sudden, and I don't know what I did wrong about that, but we'll take a look. Root. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what I did? When I fooled around up there, I accidentally changed the order of FO to OF. That is some weird editor stuff, so we're fine. All right, so let's take a look at what we have. Let's take a look. First, we're putting out this layout information, okay? So this just says we have one kind of master, one page master, and it has a single page in it that has 1-inch margins. Now it turns out that it defaults, at least in XCP, to be an 8.5 by 11 page, and now it has 1-inch margins, top, bottom, left, right. Okay. Now in XSL-FO, we don't, because it can write in normal left to right direction, or some of the languages go from right to left. It doesn't use, at this kind of a level, it doesn't use top, bottom, left, right. So left is start, okay, right is end, top is before, and bottom is after. But we'll get to that. Okay? And so this says that I've got a shell to put my content into, and the only thing I know about it so far is it's an 8.5 by 11 page, and I know that because that's the default, and it has a 1-inch margin around it, around all sides of it. Okay, so now we start to get into the content. Okay, so inside of a flow, let's look at a flow. Okay, inside of a flow, all your content needs to be marked up with something. In the same way that inside of an HTML page, when you get into the body, okay, which is kind of like the flow here, you can type a plain old text, but that's really against the strictest of the rules. If you're going to type text, you need to put it in a paragraph or inside of a list item or inside of a table. Well, we have the same thing here, okay? So think of the flow like you think of the body for the HTML page, and then what kind of things do we put it inside of? Well, there are a couple of different kinds of constructs. There are blocks, which is the one that we're going to use all the time. There are tables, there are images and illustrations and figures and all kinds of stuff. So there's a lot of constructs that we can put in. But what we're going to do is that we're going to put in flows. So let's get rid of everything that they have, okay, including their choice of font, okay? So the font that I like to use is sans serif font like Arial, and I happen to know that XCP comes with a font called Helvetica, which is a classic sans serif font. So let's say that as a default, we would like 12-point Helvetica, okay? And these properties that we have, font, the styling properties work a lot like the properties in CSS, except they're not in a separate document, okay? And this was a decision that they made intentionally. And we can, in the next unit, I'm going to show you ways that you can get some of the benefits that you can get with CSS style sheets and being able to apply them to more than one document. That you can actually create families of these styling attributes, and there's an interesting way to share them. but we're not going to do that now. Okay, so 12-point Helvetica. So what's the first thing that we did? Well, we had a title and a link. Well, there isn't the equivalent of a title or a link, so let's not do that. Okay, so the first thing is we want to say ACES student chapters partial list. Okay, so let's just simply take that text. Sorry about that. And move it up. And let's say that we're going to put that content right there. Well, that's great, except that it's not surrounded by any markup, okay? So in fact, if we try to validate this, well, it doesn't mind that, but if we try to process it, it's going to say that we can't have non-empty text immediately inside of an FO flow. It needs to be in some other kind of container, okay? And in an HTML, I might go into a paragraph, right? Well, in XSL-FO, it goes into an FO block. So let's surround it like this. And I'm going to hit, I'm on the Mac, so I hit Command and then E. Okay, and I just say I want to surround it with an FO block. I have no idea why this is doing this, but it is FO block. All right, so that's an FO block. All right, so let's just take a look at that output. So let's do that. Let's go back to the XML document and let's transform it. There it is, ACES student chapters partial list. Okay, that's a good start. All right, and it's on an 8.5 by 11 page. Okay, that started. Now, do we want to control the typography? Well, what was the typography that we had? It was in an H2, okay? And an H2 is going to be bold and a little bigger, okay? So how do we do that? We do that with formatting attributes, okay? Which we put right on the FO block. So we can say FO block. And a lot of times what I like to do is I like to do this. Okay, and now I'm going to put the formatting attributes up here. So the names of the formatting attributes are very close to the names of the formatting properties in CSS3. So for instance, we want to make it bold. We say font hyphen weight equal bold. Okay, and let's say we want to make it a little bigger, maybe 110%. Okay, we can say font size equals 110%. This is pretty much exactly how we would have done this in CSS, except we get to put the attributes right on the construct of the FO block. Okay, let's go back and see that happen. Alrighty, going to transform. And there it is, right there. I like that. Okay. So that looks good. Now, let's see what we can do next. So what is the next thing that we do here? Well, the next thing we do is that we go through the chapters, XSL for each, and we go through each of the chapters. So let's do the same thing. I'm not going to copy that as much as I'm just going to emulate it. Okay, so Sorry, we didn't want that. Keep hitting my microphone. I'm sorry about that. Well, am I ever having fun? I don't know why these things don't seem to be properly indented, but I'm going to try again. Okay, so I'm going to indent those and come back here. It doesn't want to indent it to the same degree, and it's lost on me why. Okay, but let's say we want an XSL for each. Okay, and then I'm not going to try to remember the exact XPath expression. I'm going to go down and find it. So where is it? Well, it's not here. Let's XSL for each chapter's chapter. Okay. It's good to me. Okay, so here's my loop that's going to go through the chapter, and now I'm going to pull things off of it. So, what did I say? I was putting the whole thing into a paragraph, right? All right. And I like the idea of having a paragraph here, okay? Now, this is going to become a container of containers for us. Okay, so I want to have an FO block that's equivalent of a paragraph. Okay, let's see what that is. FO block. Okay. Do I need to change the typography? Well, I don't think I do. Why? Well, let me finish up creating the construct. Okay. So what's the default going to be for the properties of this internal FO block? Well, it turns out that just like in HTML and CSS, internal blocks inherit inheritable style properties from their parents. So this FO block is inside of a, it's inside of an FO flow. So this is going to say that, yeah, this will work fine. So if the FO flow is 12-point Helvetica, and we assume it's got normal font weight, well then this would have been true for the first FO block, but we overrode it. We said bold 110%. But now the second FO block that comes along, this is going to inherit from FO flow. So do we want 12-point Helvetica? Yeah, that's fine with me. Okay, so that's fine. Now we just have to get some content into it. Okay, so what are we going to do? Well, we have the chapter name. Okay, so let's do that. Now, it works out well to create a block for each line that you want. Even if you're used to using CSS, you'll often find that that's a good thing to do. Okay, we don't have the equivalent of a paragraph. Okay, so let's do that. We want a single line. Let's create an FO block. An FO block, and this is going to create the first line. Okay, and what's the content going to be? Well, it is going to be chapter name. Now, do we need the bold tag and the break tag? Well, no, because we're going to achieve the break because we're putting it inside a block. So when we just paste it inside of the block, we're going to get our carriage return at the end of the line because it's a block. Okay. And we're going to get the bold style by saying this. For this block, we can say font weight WEIGHT equals bold. Okay, so we're going to get a bold version of the chapter name. Now, I'm going to say that we want to do this the same way that we did it before. We add a little code and then we test. So let's go back, do the transformation. And we've got Catholic University of America, Drexel, University of California. Yeah, we've got the old group that we had before. Now this isn't enough to get us into page breaks, so we're going to add some data in a bit. But I don't have that in this virtual machine, so I'm going to have to pause when I do it, so we won't do it right now. Now, what do I see that I like? I do see that the title of the report's a little bigger than each of these individual chapter name lines, and that's good because we wanted it to be 100%, 110%. They're all bold. What I'm not seeing is I'm not seeing white space before and after each of these things that I want to behave like a paragraph. Now, in HTML, I just say I want a paragraph, and I get that behavior automatically. Well, not so here, and we have to ask for it. So let's go to the thing that we want to act as a paragraph for us. That's right here, this FO block. And let's say space before. Equals, and because we're in a printed format, it's okay to use things like inches and points and all these kind of absolute measures. So let's say we want 1/8 of an inch, okay? 0.125 inches, okay? And then let's say space after equals the same, 0.125 inches. All right, now when we save that, go back and do the transformation, and now we've got some separation between these babies, and I'm liking that. All right, that looks good. Now, let's see, what's the next thing that we did? Well, the next thing that we did is we did the advisor line, okay? So we did it for each advisor. We can still use that logic. We put it into italics, and this time I'm going to stay away from italics because I just want to show what plain old Roman type is going to look like. But then what I want to do is I want to pull out these things here. So let's select the advisor. Okay, so right here, I'm going to copy that, move it up. So this is inside of that. So this is still inside of the overall paragraph. We want to select the advisor. Okay. And we're going to do the work for the advisor, and we're going to end that. Okay, let's go down and see what we did for the advisor. And here what I often like to do is just to pull the code right on out. I'm not interested in the italics. I've already said that. So let's go up and let's put the code right here. In fact, let's go here, Bennett 1, put the code right there. Well, that looks good. Okay, so we're always going to put out advisor colon, and then we're going to pull the value of the name, and if it has an email, then we're going to pull the value of the email and put it into parens. That's good. Okay, now the only thing that we have here is we need to make sure that we get it onto its own line. And we don't have the equivalent of a break. We use this block concept over and over again. So in the same way that we put line 1 into a block, we're going to put the advisor line into a block as well. Okay, how do we do that? Well, we're going to highlight this. And here on the Mac, I'm going to hit Command E. Windows people would hit Control E. It already says we're going to put it in an FO block, so let's put it into an FO block. And I don't like the way that looks, so I'm going to go up and hit the reformat, the format and indent button. And now it's looking pretty good, except that it never really formats it the way that I like. I like it to look like this, and I like this to look like that. That's very appealing to me. It makes it a little bit longer, but I like the way that that looks. Okay, so do I have to do anything special about the text? Well, I'm going to inherit the properties that I have for the whole document, which are 12-point Helvetica. I think that's okay. So I think what I'm going to get is I'm going to get a line that comes to an end because it's a block. And let's just take a look and confirm that it actually works. Okay, well that's looking good. We've got 2 advisor for UCLA, 1 for everybody else. Okay, and it's coming out in Roman type instead of italic type, and it looks like a little better typography to me. So I'm happy with that. Okay? All right, let's continue on. Alrighty. Let's come back. Let's look at the next thing that we did. Well, we had the alternate advisor, okay? And what we decided to do the last time is that we were going to do for each, again, even though we didn't expect we were going to have them all the time, and this is an implicit if, you'll remember. So let's just do that again, okay? So let's take all that code up there and then we'll de-HTMLify it, okay? Whoa, we're having fun with the microphone today. Sorry about that. Okay, so we don't need a break and we're not using italics. So we're going to get rid of those. And we're not using italics, so we're going to get rid of this. Okay, but we do want to put it in an FO block. And if you look at the FO block that we did on the last one, we didn't give it any properties. So let's just surround all this with an FO block. And it's still set to FO block. So we do that, and then we're going to format it. And then again, I like to get it just in the look that I like here. Okay. So, and then I'm going to get rid of my extra blank lines because I'm a little bit weird like that, and I want it to look good. So I think we save this. We're going to get something that looks pretty much like what we want. Oh, great. So, we should have gotten an alternate advisor, but I don't see an alternate advisor coming through. So that's not good. Didn't work. Right? Now, sometimes the problem that I have here, and this happens especially when I am displaying the output with Adobe Acrobat, is if I don't close the PDF, I don't get a new version of it. So this is coming up in the browser. So let's quit the browser right now. And let's try to run this again and make sure if we weren't seeing the output because it wasn't there. No, we are seeming to see new output here, but we're getting the wrong answer. So still bad. All right. So who has an alternate advisor? Somebody does. I thought they did. Advisor, 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 advisor. Oh, the first one. So that's on Drexel. And let me just prove to myself that we're not getting that on Drexel. Drexel, we're not getting it. Okay, we have a bug. So let's go back and look at what's going on. So for each select alternate advisor, and for each select advisor, oh, and we have an inside of the wrong for each, I think. Now, so here's our problem. We need to end this for each before we start the next one. So somehow I got my for eaches mixed up. Okay, so got this one. That's gone. All right. And then this should be back out a level, which I can do with a Shift Tab. All right. And get rid of a little bit here. We'll leave a break between these two. And then I have an XSL for each here that doesn't seem to be doing the job. I need a for each chapters. And let's see where that's matched up. So advisor, this, and I don't see why it doesn't like this. Oh, with an open FO block. Okay. So we've got to say, yes, we still have an open FO block for the paragraph. And that's good. And then that's where that belongs. Okay. This is for each chapters. Okay, that looks good. Let's give that a run. Didn't like it. One error detected. FO flow must be turned by the matching end tag FO flow. So he's got trouble here. Let's see if we can get rid of that trouble. It looks like we've got validation problems. So now it's not looking for an FO block, and I don't know why. So that's end of that block, that's end of that. We don't need this. I don't know why I thought we did, but we don't. I hope these things don't happen to you because they're very problematic. FO flow must be turning in about an end tag. So it wants to see the end of the FO flow. And somehow I got rid of my FO flow. Let's get rid of this and see if that'll validate. It validated. Thank the Lord. Okay. And let's try reformatting the whole thing. Get everything at the right level. Maybe get a couple of blank lines going here. And let's see what it looks like. All right. So for each chapter, that's the end of that. We do a block that's a paragraph, and then we do a chapter name line, one or more advisor lines, 0 or more alternate advisor lines. All right. Does that work? It does work. And Drexel has an alternate advisor line, and UCLA has 2 advisors, and everything's looking pretty good. Okay. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm thinking that maybe this title line at 110% is not big enough. So I'm going to turn that into 125% just because. And where did we say 110? We're going to make it 125. All right, let's test it out and see if it looks a little more attractive. It does look more attractive. I like that. Okay, that's good. So we've got the advisors out. Now we need to get out the URLs. Okay, so let's get working on that. What did we do? Well, where did we get the URLs? Looks here. So it looks like we put out one, no matter what, and then we test and see if we have, that's for the school, and then we test it, we see if we have a chapter one, and we put that one out. Well, let's copy this code, and while we're doing it, let's think about how the medium is different, okay? Well, the medium is different in that it doesn't have links per se. Okay, now I'm going to show you a feature where I know for sure in Adobe Acrobat, if we put a URL out, it will give us a chance to click on it as a link. But this is all going in here. Okay, so this is inside inside of the paragraph, but not inside of the alternate advisors. Okay, and now we want to insert this. So we want the equivalent of something like this. Now, first of all, if you want a line that has a break, you want an FO block. So let's get ourselves an FO block. Okay, FO block. All right, and we're going to give ourselves a return. Now, what do we want to say? Well, we want to put out some kind of a title, like we did for advisor, an alternate advisor. So let's, instead of saying school website, which is a little verbose, let's just say school web. Okay, let's copy that. And right inside of this, we're just going to say school web, okay, and a colon, and a space. And now we want to get the school web URL, but we just want the text out in the free. We're not putting it into the value of an attribute. So instead of using this attribute value template, we can use a plain old XSL value of. Okay? Select equal, but we use the same XPath expression, school web URL. All right, that looks good. So that looks like that's going to take care of it. That. Get rid of this. Now, sorry, do that last change. Okay, so now, do we still want to do a test? Yeah, we do, because we have an optional element here. So we don't want to put out the title part if we don't have one. So let's do this. Let's create an FO block. Okay, an FO block. And what are we going to put inside of it? Well, we're going to put something pretty similar to what we put up in the other one. Instead of school web, we're going to say chapter web colon. And then we're going to have an XSL value of select equal. Oh, and by the way, up there we want an empty element. We're not enclosing anything. In here we want an empty element. We're not enclosing anything. And what are we going to use as the XPath expression? Well, just the name of the element, just like we did before. Select equals that. Okay, and now we can get rid of this code. So we've done a pretty good conversion, I think. All right, let's take a look at what this looks like. Let's go back to the XML document, do a transformation. No, that looks good. School web, chapter web. Now, if you click on that, you go to the website. Now, in the Adobe product, when you click on this, it acts in a prettier way. Okay, so when you come over top of something that you can click on, you get that hand with the finger that points to the link, and so that's good. Now, what I would like to do here, though, is I would like to give our reader the idea that even though this isn't an HTML page and this is a PDF, it seems to be a standard feature for the PDF renderers to allow you to click on a URL and it's going to navigate to it and open the browser. So let's give it some kind of typographical treatment, okay? Now, I don't like underlining. Underlining is not something from modern typography. It's something from typewriters, okay? So you don't see a lot of underlining in typeset books, and that's because it's a typewriter feature and not a typesetting feature. So I just want to turn this a color like maybe blue to make it look like a link to give the reader a hint. Now, this gives me an opportunity to show you another feature of XSL-FO. Now, what we've done so far is we control the typography by having all of the type inside of a block having the same style attributes, okay? And we've done a good job of inheriting the style attributes that we have up on the root of this part of the document, okay? And we have the rules of inheritance just like we have in HTML and CSS. But what if we want to do a span of text like we would do with an HTML span? Well, in addition to an FO block, there's an FO inline. So how would we do this? Well, we would take our thingy here, take our text, and we would surround it with, I'm going to do Command E, and I'm going to surround it with an FO inline. Double clicking doesn't work in here. So FO inline, say OK. And what do I want to do? Well, I want to give it a color attribute, and the name of the attribute for the color of the type is color, just like it is in CSS. So I can say color equal blue. Okay, and I can do the same thing for this one down here. So I'm going to surround that value of, and I'm going to do an E, say I want an FO inline, and I'm going to give it a color attribute. Color equal blue. And now what I'm expecting is the chapter web or school web, I'm expecting that to be plain old black type, but it's this URL that I'm expecting to come out in blue. So let's give that a try with the transformation. And look at that. That's quite nice. Okay, so we've kind of stolen something for the typographical treatment we see in a browser, and we've extended it to the PDF. And let's look, let's go to UWM, and let's click on that. And here we are, we're at the SOAS page, which is quite nice. Now, can we navigate back? Yep, we navigated back. Okay, and this is the behavior that we're getting from the default PDF application in the Mac. It works slightly differently if you're using Adobe Acrobat Reader. And I just want to warn you, if you're going to use Adobe Acrobat Reader, you do have the problem that every time you do a new transformation and put out another PDF, you have to have closed the old one. So you have to go down here to the bar at the bottom, the dock, and you have to find that the PDF and click and say quit. Or what happens, it'll do a transformation and you'll see the last version that you had. So if you're having that problem, remember that you have to close these things one at a time. And I've had the same issue over on the Windows environment when using Adobe Acrobat Reader as well. Okay, so Adobe Acrobat Reader, I think, is a prettier renderer for PDFs, but it's kind of sticky. And if you want to look at your PDF output, you have to remember to close the program before the next time you do a transformation. So these look good. I mean, I'm pretty happy with this. Now, we've not done anything to break a page. So what I want to do is I want to pause and I'm going to change the file out. Okay, and when I give you, when I put this up on the D2L, I'm going to give you this new version of the student chapters file, and I'm going to get one that's going to be long enough to create page breaks, because I want to show you one more feature that we haven't seen yet. Okay, I'll be right back. We're going to pause here, and I'll be right back. All right. Well, I'm back, and I have the new version of this student ACES chapters partial. And now it's partial in that it doesn't have all of the chapters, although it has most of them. And it's got one phony one. Okay? So if I go down through it, you'll see we've got some people we didn't have before: UNC Chapel Hill, St. John's, Simmons, a who's who of our competition: San Jose State, Rutgers, Pratt Institute, a bunch of people who have student chapters of ACES. Okay, so let's take this and transform it and see if we get a page break. And I think we will. Yeah. So there's the first page, and there's the second page, and there's the third page. Oh, and look what's happening. This wasn't happening on my other machine. Okay, so what I did is, you'll see that right in the middle of a paragraph, right in the middle of an FO block, we're getting a page break. Okay, well, we don't want to do this. So what I did is, right after the University of Texas, I created a University of Taxes, and I gave it a bunch of advisors, so it was sure to go over. All right, and in fact, if I close this and go to my XSLT, you'll remember that the last time, at least at certain points, I told people, oh, you know, we can sort the things inside of a XSL for each. Okay, and so we can say XSL sort select equals, and we want to do it on chapter name. Okay, so we just want to select equals chapter name. All right. So let's do this, and now we're going to get them all in alphabetical order. So let's go back to our XML file, do a transformation. Okay, now we're getting them all in order. And for some reason, if we sort them, we don't get line break problems. Oh, here we're getting one on Texas. This is not the exact version I was getting on the other machine. But so, whenever you have a paged media output, you have to decide how you are going to handle page breaks. Okay, so there are a couple of things that you can do. One of the things is that you can just, as we are now, we can allow the page breaks to simply happen. So let's go back to, let's find Texas and taxes. So we've got University of Taxes, which pushes down University of Texas. And we've got just a couple of lines up front and a couple of lines down behind the page break. And this one or two lines are referred to as widows and orphans. Now, as I remember right, the ones that get left behind are orphans, and the ones that get carried on to the next page are widows, but it could be the other way. But normally, unless we have a significantly long list or paragraph, we don't want to do this. This isn't the way people set type. So there is a property that we can add to our block that's serving as our paragraphs that's called keep together. Okay, and it has a range of values. And the most strong thing that you can say is always. Now, if we have entries like this that are like a handful of lines long, I would rather just come to a new page before I start the new thing. So unless I was expecting a lot of really big ones, I would say the strongest thing we can say about keep together, which is always. So let's go to our XSLT and let's find the block that we're using to serve as our paragraph. And where is that? Well, it's right inside for each chapters, right here. There's the block. We've got some space before and some space after, and we can just add keep hyphen together equals, and the strongest thing you can say is always. Okay? Now, if you want to say something less than always, as I recall, there are numeric values where you want to say how strong that's going to be. You have to look that up in the documentation. This is something where, let's say that we're laying out more publishing-oriented things, and we didn't want to leave really small bits of text on the front side or the back side, but we would leave substantial blocks of text. Well, then we probably want to say something weaker than always. Okay, but for this kind of document, always works just fine. So let's save that. Go to our XML document. And what do we have? Let's go down. Do we have any that appear to skip? No. Even University of Texas is fine. And now we didn't start University of Texas and then get it spread out over 2 pages. We kept it together. Okay? And there's the end. So these are typical things that you want to do. Well, what have we not done? Well, I guess we haven't done finer versions of keep together. Okay, so maybe we want to explore that in the next unit. We haven't done multiple kinds of pages. Okay, why might we want to do multiple kinds of pages? Well, if we wanted to print this like a book where there were left pages and right pages, we might want to put the page numbers on one side or the other. We might want to have some kind of running footer that goes with the page numbers, or a running header that goes with the page numbers at the top. We might want to do something like calculate the total number of pages, so our page numbers could say 1 of 4, 2 of 4, 3 of 4. So there are all kinds of things that we might want to do, and in the next unit I'm just going to pick a handful, and we're going to add some more capabilities here. We're not going to explore all the capabilities of XSL-FO, but we're going to take just a handful and make this look a little more professional. So until then, I'm going to say bye-bye. Bye-bye.